Welcome to Unspoken Truth, where we'll be uncovering life journeys that make or break us, and those little things that bring us joy, or the deepest, darkest secrets we've decided that we're taking to our grave, the pain and the judgments that we carry each day. And these are managed in all different forms of relationships, friendships, family, and society. Join me on this journey of unspoken truth and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child. And in everything else in between, I am still an individual riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. In this episode, we will be tackling the monstrosity of sexual abuse and the stigma. This episode is I own my body and I have power over it, and I will not be silenced. Our upbringing defines us and controls how we turn up in adulthood. I believe a lot of women have similar stories to tell on how it feels not to own your body or not to have a say and be silenced by those who are meant to protect us. Before we go down this journey, I have a story to share. Let me take you to about 18 years ago. A family member touched me inappropriately. I remember how he drew me closer so that he could fondle me as he pleases, and this was uncomfortable. I still have a vivid memory and how it made me feel. It was as if someone had given themselves the key to my privacy. In his eyes, I guess he was hoping I could feel whatever he was feeling. Instead, I had so much fear I could hear my own heartbeat. He had seen an opportunity to prey on a little girl. I was 13 at that time, trying to figure out my own identity. Before it intensified, I remember hearing a voice inside of me saying, "Run." And I did just that. I ran so fast without looking back, hoping he didn't follow me. But little did I know, I would have to face him sooner than I thought. I had a little diary where I wrote on a constant, like any other little girl, and I remember writing this incident down the same night. I had a friend I spoke to daily over the phone, but I never found it in myself to share what had happened. Instead, I did what I did best, bury my emotions. If only I had told my friend, would it have been better? Would it have made me feel safe? I would be vulnerable, and I didn't want him to know everything about me. He was a friend, but it was my battle to worry about. I couldn't tell my parents either, especially mine, who are too self-absorbed. This person was family. What will happen if I did say a word about this encounter? I kept it to myself, and I could think, why would he do that to me? And if I didn't run, what would have happened? Those thoughts haunted me for the longest of time. A couple of weeks later, my mother found my diary. Instead of addressing what she read, she played it out on the basis of, I was lying. To date, I remember those words, "You are lying." I wonder if she still does remember those words. As she said that, I remember thinking that I'm just a teenager. Why would I ever have a fantasy to lie about being touched inappropriately and being made feel less of myself and be someone's property, object? They could touch me however they want, wherever they wish to touch. Later that night, my parents held a meeting with the family member and his wife, asking me, why would I lie about this? I was puzzled, muted, silenced. This could have been addressed a little better, but here I was sitting here, hoping the ground would just swallow me up and make me disappear. Because what I know is mothers should fight their children's battles. Mothers are and should always be shield maidens, there to protect, educate, and nurture. I was silenced by the people who should have believed and stood by my truth. This incident showed me the power of the perpetrator. Yes, I'll call all sexual abusers and offenders perpetrators. No matter how one would want to justify it, whether it's a family member or a boyfriend, no matter who it is, or colleague, anyone that makes you feel naked and ashamed is a perpetrator. Once a perpetrator is shielded, they take away your voice and hold power over you. With all that, now as a mother myself, I thought, let me take the responsibility to start having this uncomfortable conversations with my son. So let me quickly share a conversation I had with him a couple of months ago. I recently started talks with my 10-year-old son, and these talks are not easy, as I was trying by all means to make sure the message I'm putting across is understood and will not scare him. He's 10, not a teenage boy as yet, but better now than never, right? I remember telling him how it was very important that he was safe and that he should know that not only am I his mother, I'm his friend too. And that he should tell me anything, even in moments he feels scared, or even if someone told him not to ever tell me. I told him I loved him so much that I want no harm towards him. And if anyone ever made him feel slightly uncomfortable, a touch or a mere conversation, he had to tell me. And he should never worry, I'll be there to protect him. I'm here trying to raise a boy who should never turn out to victimize others, especially women, and try to give as much love, hoping and praying that he'll always have the respect one day when he's all grown up to understand the world. As a parent, if we started raising our kids differently to how we were raised, we might have the power to fix the brokenness of society, the same society we have been raised in. If we put in the time to have conversations, where not only are we reassuring them or guiding them, giving them platforms to speak, and in return, we will listen. We cannot change other people's children and how they will turn up, but we have the power to raise respectful boys that will turn out better than just okay. To mothers with sons or single fathers out there, we have no clue how life will pan out, but let's try our level best for parents who are raising girls, so that these girls will be loved and respected. To parents raising girls, teach them to be strong. Teach them to voice out issues at home or at school. Protect them from those vultures that prey on little girls. Teach them to never, ever be silenced by anyone. It is team effort, especially in my little circle of friends. We all are parents, others with boys and others with little girls. And we need to put in the time to make sure we learn from each other. We teach our kids as they all grow up around each other and nurture our kids to have good character. We will face challenges, but it doesn't mean we should stop. Instead, we should ask, what is it that we want to do better and differently? The future generation starts with us and our parenting skills and us being the pillars in what we do, and every day we change slowly the environment we live in. We can change the family members and friends we choose to keep our children around. We grow up differently, but we can change the world they grow up in, into a better world where women aren't victims, where women are victorious, where we rise and where we raise respect for men, men who see the importance of women, where women are proud to be who they are and are safe from harm. We own our bodies. No one else does. We have a say, and we're not property or an object that can be taken off a shelf and put back. We're not accessories that could be used to boost egos. There are few cases that took the country by storm a couple of years back. The River Steenkamp and Karabo Mkwena murder cases. These stories shook South Africa, and endless cases were reported every day. We all have been victims, and some maybe not at all, but I know one story changes the next person's life. We are living souls that deserve love and protection. These are the topics we need to raise in our homes, teaching our young boys that women aren't objects, raising them to respect women and not to harm them. These are uncomfortable conversations our parents never had with us. We must stop the pattern of hiding these truths to our own children and family. We need to unlearn bad behaviors and habits. We cannot raise a generation that will be in pain, ashamed, and silenced because if we do, we will be raising yet another broken society. Victimology should not be the answer. We cannot complain and do nothing. We cannot wait on others to put in the work. I challenge everyone listening to this podcast to take the time to have these conversations with their kids, siblings, and even family. Start the talks. They might not change the entire world, but they'll change your household. The truth is the only way to move forward. Help a friend or a colleague who might be facing abuse in their marriage or relationships. Listen and give advice. They can only take themselves out. We all know that. We lose nothing by lending an ear and repeating the same thing over and over again until they can walk out. Teaching someone going through a form of abuse the ability to stand up and walk out and voice out. I know it is easier said than done. Some of us only realize that the relationships that we were once in were abusive. We learned to tolerate bad behaviors and have excuses for them. I remember this one time a couple of years back. My boyfriend wouldn't open the door for me, and he was inside the house playing loud music to silence my knocking. I lived with him, and I wondered where he wanted me to go. I sat outside hoping he could eventually open. It got dark and still nothing. I knocked on every window and every door. He didn't open. Hours later, he opens, and I found my things packed. I was getting kicked out. I didn't even know what I had done. I was cold and I was upset because I had spent hours outside thinking why he would do that. I will not go into detail with the story. The question I had was, did he know that mistreating someone was a form of abuse? Would he have liked being treated the way he treated me? For me, a lot happened in that relationship that broke me, and I never thought I would stick up for it. But I love him. That's all that played in my mind. That incident wasn't the last. It became a hostile relationship, a relationship he detected. His feelings mattered, mine didn't. Even when we had a child together, he wasn't ready. He didn't want it because we were now not in a happy place, he said. But did he realize he was yet again making choices on my behalf? Whatever he wanted, I said to myself, because I loved him. That's all that was playing in my mind. I was yet another girl who was with a broken guy, who could stay and justify his actions. All the actions, but in reality, he's also a product of a broken society, a society that hurts the minority, women. Maya Angelou says, nothing will work unless you do. So, instead of us having anxiety each time we watch the news about a woman being killed or children being raped, ask yourself the question, what am I doing to ensure the safety of those around me? Those I have power to protect. Either our own kids, our nieces, our nephews. What is it that you're doing to help educate and be the pillar of their strength? When do we stand up as women in our small WhatsApp groups, Instagram, any form of a forum? What are you doing? What are you talking about? And if those forums are about complaining and not finding solutions, change your circle because it's time to do. And becoming the helping hands and support to all women out there. We must mute the word victim and take our power back. Let me leave you with this quote. Change is the end result of all true learning. In this episode, I want to open a platform for us to go deep in more stories that can heal us and to have open conversations on sexual abuse, domestic abuse in relationships. We have come to realize that some men out there think when you're in a relationship or married, they can take without asking, or they can own your body as if it's their property. I have stories to share. And I'm hoping we can all have these conversations. Until the next episode, please leave comments and send messages. I'll be in touch to record these conversations for those who want to share. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcast. The change starts with us. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Until the next episode, remember to do what you gotta do so you can do what you wanna do. Thank you.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul-searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.